IVM.
अर्चित
कहिए।
हो कि नहीं? बस बोलना पड़ता है कहिए कि नहीं कहिए। लोग सब थोड़ी वीडियो देख रहे हैं, कुछ लोग हमें सुन भी रहे हैं। एक्चुअली बहुत लोग सुन रहे हैं, वीडियो कम लोग देखते हैं। जस्ट सेइंग पीपल, इफ यू हैव नॉट सीन अस ऑन यूट्यूब, प्लीज जाओ यार, हमारा मुखड़ा देखे आओ। मेकअप वेकअप करते हैं हम लोग, ऐसा नहीं है।
Talk about yourself.
खैर, तो अच्छा अपने बारे में बात करते हैं। We have heard of different names in food fraternity, chef fraternity specifically, starting from home chef, master chef, sous chef, grand chef, tandoori chef, vegan chef, ये chef वो chef, and as well as ओए होए अमूल बटर वाला chef। लेकिन ना ये आजकल एक नया एक और टर्म है मार्केट में, which is called diabetic chef। और ये कौन सी बला है भाई? ये मतलब डायबिटिक शेफ समझ लो।
अच्छी बात है, तुम शेफ लोग रोज नए नए करामात करते हो। अच्छा है हमारे लिए, खाने वालों के लिए,
है ना। अभी हम ऐसे करते हैं प्रबंध आपके लिए अभी, और कुछ करते हैं। हमारे पास डेफिनेशन है, अभी जानना पड़ेगा कि आखिर ये व्हाट इज डायबिटिक शेफ। उसके लिए हमारे पास है शेफ हर्ष केडिया। हर्ष बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग सी है कि डायग्नोज कर रहे थे बचपन में अपनी आंटी को, और उनका ऐसे बेसिकली ब्लड शुगर पड़ना था उनको। तो अचानक से डिसाइड कि छोड़ो आंटी वंटी क्या करना है, खुद का रीडिंग डालो। खुद में मशीन लगाओ, खुद का पढ़ लेते हैं। एंड देन लगा झटका। तो अब ये झटका कैसे लगा, क्यों लगा, वो तो उस पर तो आएंगे, लेकिन लेट्स स्टार्ट विद हर्ष से। हर्ष, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वेलकम टू नानकरी पॉडकास्ट। बहुत कुछ बातें करनी है हर्ष। एक बात पहले इससे स्टार्ट करनी है कि आंटी का क्यों नहीं किया फिर ब्लड शुगर रीडिंग, उनका छोड़ दिया ऐसे ही?
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल थैंक यू सो मच आप दोनों का मुझे अपने पॉडकास्ट में इनवाइट करने के लिए। मैं बहुत खुश हूँ नान करी खाने में और नान करी में बात करने के लिए। ये मेरा पहला फूड पॉडकास्ट है और मुझे बड़ा मजा आ रहा है यहाँ पर बैठकर आप लोग की बातें सुनकर। तो मासी का शुगर चेक करने के पहले मैंने मेरा खुद का क्यों चेक किया। मैं स्कूल से आया था थका हुआ, और देन मासी बिंग मासी बेचारी, मेरा पैर दुख रहा है, मेरा हाथ दुख रहा है, मेरे को ये हो रहा है, मेरे को वो हो रहा है। और मैंने बोला कि यार थोड़ा चिल कर लो लाइफ में आप लोग, लाइक काफी साइकोलॉजिकल होता है। एंड देन नाउ दैट मुझे खुद को है, मुझे मालूम है कि उसके कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस रेपरकशन क्या होते हैं। ठीक है, तो 14 इयर्स ओल्ड, 8th स्टैंडर्ड में होऊंगा तब मैं निकल गया स्कूल से, घर आया, फिर मेरी मशीन हाथ में थी, मैं दादी को करता था, मम्मी का चेक करता था, साल में एक बार पापा का, बिकॉज उनको भी चेक करवाना होता था वगैरह। लाइक नॉर्मली काफी यूज्ड टू था। तो मैंने बोला यार अब उंगली तो करनी है लाइफ में, खुजली बड़ी आ रही थी हाथों में, मैंने उठा ली मशीन, मैंने खुद को चेक कर लिया, आई टेस्टेड माई सेल्फ। हु वुड एक्सपेक्ट? So I was 5'5", super obese. I was like 106 kgs, okay. And I was like, why not? Like, let's just check this out. Let's just do this. And when I picked myself, my Masi's still on the sofa. She's lying down and she's like, are you going to come here or not? I said, Arey, machine to kharab ho gayi. She's like, kya hua? I said, meri reading 196 aa rahi hai. And then I realized that telling my Masi meant telling my mother and the entire family, which meant a lot of things. Because my mother has been diabetic for over almost 20 years now. So I know the normal levels. I know like the regulated ones, how it should be and what it should be. And I knew that my start only with diabetes has been a very bad scene. So bas masti mein 14-year-old Harsh wanted to check it, so I checked it. There was no reason behind it. I had no symptoms.
This reminds me, bachpan mein na, when I was in my college mate, okay, college mate नहीं था, flatmate था, hostel mate था, जो भी उसको बोलो, he was sharing, he was also I think 10-12 years old, and उसने out of curiosity just like you, he saw fire, okay, उसने देखा कि यार आग बड़ा अच्छा लाल लाल दिखता है। तो अच्छा, पहले में I'm talking about I think where he was growing up in Jamshedpur, to be exact he was growing up in Washepur, okay। तो वहाँ पर उसके पास वो कोयले वाला चूल्हा रखा था। तो he said कि I really like, उसमें से आग निकल रही थी, तो मुझे बड़ा अच्छा लगा। तो अब मुझे अच्छा लगा तो मैंने उसके ऊपर बैठ गया। So curiosity makes people very weird things. But खैर, तो so you said you had no symptoms. उसके बाद क्या हुआ?
and also you're not 106 kilos right now, as I can see on YouTube. How did that change?
The whole post-adolescence, post-irritability, no one wants to date a fat kid. So I was like, why should I always stay behind 3 steps because of my weight at like shows, plays, events? and I was just like, let's lose some weight. So when I went to uni, I realized that just before uni, rather 12th grade holidays, I started like not in the best healthy way, which I don't recommend anyone anyway. But I lost a staggering 40 kgs in 2 years. And I, to 38 ho gaya, 38, 37, something like that. And by the time I reached my second year of college, I was just like, wow, went from waist 38 to 28. Weight looked fine. I looked fine. Like, I was like, I would look at the mirror, I'd be like, hey, I like what I see. I would wear whatever clothes I want. So from going from a demotivated fat kid in school to being able to look myself in the mirror and be like, hey, bro, take a photo for me at the club, at the bar, at college. That was like a whole change. So there was a lot of positive affirmations that I had from my own, like from the inside. So that was
That's
about
amazing.
that was about it, yeah. And I did it for the healthy bit of it, not because of just
Aesthetics.
the aesthetic bit of it, yeah. Lockdown
Yeah.
killed it for me because I gained weight again in the lockdown. But now I have to restart my entire journey, and now it's difficult because my metabolism then at 16 versus now at 26 will be very different. So it's a process. Ghar ki
Right.
kheti hai. We'll
Ghar ki
figure it
kheti.
out.
Yeah. And speaking of metabolism,
Archit will help you in that process.
I think Harsh can help himself really well. But speaking of metabolism, how's your relationship been with sugar, especially since you've been diagnosed?
I've been divorced, man. My divorce with sugar left me with like a lot of understanding of my body. It made me realize that there's a lot of things that you eat every day that your body does not require. And it does like a lot more damage than you understand. Like something as basic as a watermelon having the highest amount of sugar over any other fruit. A very common misconception is watermelon, like it's mostly water. How does it have so much sugar? So if you split it up, the water to sugar ratio in watermelon is basically the balance of water is just sugar. It's fructose. Then there was a lot of things that I learned about my body, like safe to say that I don't look like I'm 25, 26 years old. That's because of the sugar. My skin hasn't aged as much. So there have been a lot of positive effects of not consuming sugar. I sort of skipped through the entire puberty acne bit of it. Like I've had like 2 pimples my entire life. I kid you not, like everyone around me was just like having breakouts and stuff, maybe for other reasons also. But my doctor would tell me that it's because you're not consuming a lot of sugar or any form of sugar in your body. You're
Right.
missing out on like oilier skin or like breakouts and like different kinds of stuff. Metabolism was accelerated because of lack of sugar in the body for me specifically. Apart from that, I wouldn't have to share desserts with people because everything I would make would be sugar free. So instead of feeling bad about मैं तुम्हारा केक नहीं खा सकता, तुम मेरा केक मत खाओ, मैं खुद खा लूंगा of sorts.
Right.
So I've been making my own desserts without sugar and then having them. So a lot of learning, and then everything I do today and all the growth I've had as an individual, the reason why people know me is because I quit sugar at 14 and I made something out of it.
Right. And that's awesome. My relationship with food has also been not similar, but interesting. I have a history of diabetes in my family, and I decided कि चलो देखते हैं एक हफ्ता if I don't have sugar तो क्या होता है. So for 1 week, I quit sugar. And I realized and learned so much from that 1 week. I realized a lot of us are addicted to sugar. If you don't have sugar for a week, which is like any other substance that addicts you, you don't crave it. But if you have a bit of it, you crave more of it. And that's because your body wants to maintain that insulin spike. And yeah, so many of us are addicted to sugar. We don't even realize it. So I'm glad brands such as yours, which we'll now come to, are bringing in healthier alternatives for people who still want some meetha, but don't want to consume sugar. So ये brand, a diabetic chef, which is a very simple and good name, I think, for what you do. ये brand कैसे start किया, and why start with chocolate specifically?
There's a very fun story behind it.
Yeah.
So I wanted, like you guys sort of came together and wrote about, spoke about food and discussed on forums and had a lot of guests.
Yeah.
I was in school, and funnily enough, I don't know how in Bombay also there are so many misconceptions about boys wanting to cook food, and the gender stereotyping was worse than ever. And I'm talking like 12 years back. So I thought like I want to start writing about my experiences with my food, the food I eat without sugar, etc., etc. And then I went up to someone and I asked, like a classmate in school and high school, I think. Then I asked her, I said, listen, so I want to start something of my own around food. I want to start writing, blogging. I didn't even know what blogging exactly was. I was like, Facebook pe page chalu karna hai. And she's like, Harsh, tumse na ho paega. तुम्हें तो वैसे ही diabetes है. तुमको क्या diabetic chef बना है? And that's how I legit picked it up. And the pages were created in 2013.
Okay.
So it's now been 9 years. I haven't left the name. I'm just like,
Wow.
you prick me and I use it. Like that. I am so glad that that insult had come through that day.
Right.
Also, I feel like on a branding perspective purely, it works really well because it's straight up on point. People just know, like, a lot of brands have like French, European names and things to add on to like a patisserie or like anything for that matter under the sun, so there's a lot of nuances to like branding and stuff like that. So when we were restarting 2 years back, I was asked this question 3 times by 3 different people who are currently my mentors. They were like, Harsh, are you sure you don't want to change the name? I said, no, I'm very sure. They said, what if you want to move from like diabetes as a niche? So my answer was very clear. I am diabetic.
Right.
My population, my community is diabetic.
Yeah.
And what I've realized over time is that there is no brand in the world right now that specifically caters to diabetes and sweets. Like there's no niche company like specifically towards diabetes. There are brands who make a chota sa side product which is sugar free or call it diabetes friendly, and they'll add like some jaggery or they'll add some khajur to it, and make it sound like it's without sugar, but it's without like real sugar, tabletop sweeteners and stuff. So the idea of keeping Diabetic Chef as is was to sort of stay with the cause, to stay true to it, and to give the message right. If I tell my mother, who's probably not very tech savvy or not very internet savvy, that a company had Diabetic Chef, so she'll understand कि हाँ खाना बनाते हैं diabetic लोगों के लिए specifically. So we've sort of related to all sort of audiences with a name, and it sort of sits well.
So why start with chocolates specifically?
So we had a small takeaway joint in 2018 where we used to make brownies and milkshakes and stuff. And this is not very long, it's exactly 4 years back. So we shut in June 2018. And at the takeaway joint, we used to make cakes and brownies and milkshakes and stuff. So my community in general, the Facebook community that I started with, has been extensive.
Right.
We've had people from across India. I used to have global readers. So someone from Australia, Nigeria, someone from Paris, someone from, Pakistan, from Sri Lanka. Like, because diabetes is not region centric. A lot of people have it from different places, different parts of the country. And the relatability factor is very common. So we've had listeners from all over there. And the biggest challenge I used to face is that when people would ask me, can you send it to me? And I'd just be in a sorry space, be like, yaar, cake kaise bheju main aapko? Ya brownies kaise bheju? Even within India. So when I was working on like different things after that, like I had a job, I used to work at a patisserie and I've done my own marketing thing and I've joined whatever, bunch of things. In that entire process, I realized that there are two problems in our market. First, there's a lack of availability of quality foods. By quality, I mean true, honest, real, everything that you need to have in a product. Second, we don't have good chocolates. Like, as a country that grows cocoa beans and like we have so much availability, we don't have good chocolates for sugar free. Like, there are a lot of chocolates that are available in the market and people tend to buy them or people tend to, consume them and they sort of try different stuff out. But we lack the serious need of like a chocolate that tastes like a chocolate. Because when a person with diabetes or without who's off sugar buys like a confectionery, they want to enjoy it and not have it as a dawai. So which is why I sort of took the route of chocolates where A, good quality, B, accessible. Now with packaged chocolates and a lot of packaging and stuff, we can deliver to any pin code in India.
So Harsh, I'm also actually curious because when it comes to chocolate, and you mentioned about that, Indian chocolates still evolving. I think it hasn't evolved now, and I put Indian chocolate in a very gourmet space as well. The reason of calling it a gourmet space because much of the chocolate is still like for example, if you talk about brands like Dairy Milk and all, right, they fall in the category of 50 rupees or 100 rupees maximum. But when you talk about a gourmet chocolate like the ones that you use and others use also, they go somewhere to 100 something, right? Now, are you then getting into space of like bean to bar, or are you getting chocolates already done and then you're remolding it? And then how is the entire process of then adding, sort of making it, actually first making it diabetes friendly, if that's a word, I don't know. And second is also for people who are calorie conscious, right? We know chocolate is good, but then how much is always debatable, right? One piece, 1 gram, 100 grams, we don't know. So how are you revolutionizing in a way this whole chocolate space?
Okay, so the first bit of it, when you talk about like these sub 50 rupees, sub 100 rupee chocolates, these are corporations that churn out like thousands of tons and maybe lakhs of tons of like cocoa and butters and stuff like that. So their economies of scale sort of help them produce it so cheap and still like pull out such high margins that they're able to afford to sell it at that price. Second, the transaction amounts that they have, like if I am able to sell one chocolate, they sell 1 lakh chocolates. So the kind of sales that they have with the store partners that they've had, that built in trust with like a Kirana wala also, even if the Kirana wala gets 1.5 to 2 rupees, he will sell their chocolate first over like ours, which we give like 25, 30 rupees per chocolate bar. And that is why they're able to afford to sell it at that range. Even similar products to ours, like you can pick up a sugar-free chocolate by one of our leading Indian ice cream makers or like milk vendors or like people who sell milk or butter. So their chocolate is available for 100 rupees for 100 grams. And for us, that doesn't even cover like 3/4 of the cost. So that is a challenge that Indian chocolatiers will face, and I agree with you completely. And the procurement cost from raw materials. So we make it from bean to bar, like our chocolates are bean to bar.
No, sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say, could you explain what bean to bar means for our listeners?
Sure. So bean to bar is the process in which it will be a little difficult to like audio explain it, but like, so bean to bar is a process where you procure good quality cocoa beans, and then it sort of is broken, the nibs are taken out, they're roasted, they're winnowed. There are a lot of these fancy terms that you'll use, and finally they're tempered, which means that they have to be taken to a certain process after they've been grinded for 8 to 12 hours. The videos that you'll see of like these machines running with like a lot of like liquid chocolate flowing, then they're taken out and then they're put in like a tempering process. For some of us, it's machine based. Some of us do it hand tempering. So tempering is a process where you take the temperature of the chocolate from X to Y and then lesser than Y. So it's like a graph that we draw. When you temper a chocolate, what happens is when you see a chocolate bar that is shiny, sometimes the chocolate bar is so shiny you can see yourself on it if you keep it in enough sunlight. Like it's so glazy and glossy.
Yeah.
And I feel that food talks to you. Like I can communicate with food. So when I break a chocolate near my ear, it snaps. I like that tuck, that snap that comes out of the chocolate means that the chocolate is well tempered. So after that, there's a resting period of time where you rest the chocolates in an air conditioning. Like first you refrigerate, then you air condition it, and then it goes for final packaging. So the entire process of making the chocolate, apart from just formulating it, is also tedious and consuming, which a lot of bigger brands are able to sort of take through machines. उनका dropper से जाता है mold में, mold से demold होता है, then it goes through the chiller and then it stays there, and then again that same machine takes it, puts it into foil, and it's packed and it comes to you as is.
Right.
For us, there's a lot of physical work for chocolate, like smaller chocolatiers. Now, addressing the question of how do you make it nutritionally viable. So essentially, when you take out sugars completely from the chocolates, which means you don't add any sugar, which is ideally a majority ingredient in most chocolates. So 30 to 60% of a chocolate bar, I'm saying in an average larger perspective, 30 to 60 grams out of 100 grams of a chocolate bar can be sugar. I'm talking from dark milk and white. So taking that 30 to 60 grams out of sugar, you have to add sugar substitutes. Now, any substitute of sugar is a carb. But you need to understand that there are good carbs, bad carbs, like simple and complex carbs. So the effect a carb count and a calorie count your body can take will be very different.
Yeah.
For example, a fruit has calories in it. Fruit has fructose in it, but two different fruits will do differently for your body.
Right.
Like a multigrain sourdough will also have a set number of calories, so will a white bread. But the effect either or will have on your glucose levels will be very different.
Yeah.
So when people see the calorie count on chocolates, sorry, are you saying something?
No, I was agreeing with you. No two calories are the same and they affect your metabolic, hormonal health completely differently.
Apart from that, when you're using like stuff like cocoa butter, which we
Right.
use regularly, it does contribute to fat. It does contribute to your carbs. It does contribute to a lot of factors. And then people ask us, calories, of course. And then customers will ask us that why is your chocolate 500 calories and this chocolate is 350 calories? What they don't realize is that the calorie contribution comes from the best quality cocoa butter. It comes from the best quality ingredients that have been added. Like, for example, our bestseller is a cranberry dark chocolate, for instance. Now, the cranberries have been freeze dried and then they've been added. So, cranberry as a berry will add to your calories, right?
Yeah.
The chocolate in itself will, the cranberry will, but people need to sort of balance out that the cranberry is high in antioxidants. It's very good with like your potassium and like different things that it sort of contributes to your body, which is in a way giving you those calories, but they are good calories. Like, I don't think there's a problem or it does not spike your insulin when you consume cranberries because ideally they're excellent for diabetes. So the entire breakdown in totality for any food product sort of comes in from the ingredients and the quality of ingredients rather than just the carb and calorie count and the protein count and the fat, which is of course very important. It's not the deciding factor. So yes.
Right. And use stevia in your chocolate. So stevia, also known as meethi tulsi in Hindi. How is it better than other sugar alternatives which are artificial? Stevia is natural. Apart from that, what made you take the stevia route?
So with respect to stevia, the thing is that there are two parts of it. One is a complete meaty tulsi that you add into like your chai and stuff. The other is the stevia that brands like us use or you would buy from the market and add as a powder into your chai, coffee, baked stuff, gajar ka halwa and stuff. So I have formulated like 55 desserts with just stevia powder.
Wow.
And they all taste absolutely like as good as your regular desserts.
Yeah.
So the two parts of it are that if I use stevia leaves, it won't taste the same. But if I use stevia powder, it will, or stevia liquid. Now I'll tell you why. According to government regulations, like the FSSAI prescribes you to only use 6%, up to 6% of actual stevia in 100% stevia formulation, which means it has to be balanced with an erythritol or a maltitol or another xylitol. So these are the names of different sugar alcohols that can be used, which are much lower glycemic index, which is the ability to increase sugar levels, than a regular tabletop sugar or a brown sugar. So what we make is a stevia erythritol blend. Both have stevia has a zero GI, which means that stevia can't possibly increase your glucose levels or have negative repercussions. There, stevia is a bad boy in the name of the market, but it's actually not. So we'll talk about that a little later, perhaps. So yeah, like stevia naturally is super good. It's super healthy. It doesn't have repercussions on your body. However, like any other food, if you consume 100 grams of stevia, you'll have like issues in your gut. But which normal sane person even consumes 100 grams of sugar in a day? So the whole misconception and the whole Scientology behind, if you have stevia, it's bad for you. No, if you have 100 grams of stevia, it's bad for you.
To get the same amount of sweetness from stevia compared to 100 grams of sugar, you need like minute amount of stevia, right?
Yeah, so the ratio is 1:20.
1:20.
So for like 100-gram brownie batch, like say 100 grams of sugar that I need in the brownies, I will need only like, wait, let me mathematically calculate this for you. You need 5 grams.
You're an economics graduate.
I told you I was working in the kitchen for the most of it. I do remember it. I was kidding. I was playing with you.
No.
I've already your reaction. So it is 5 grams of stevia to 100 grams of sugar.
Because you spoke about regulations and you spoke about economies of scale. I got that. So I can sense the economics background. Even though you worked at cafes, you did pass all your courses and you did remember some of it.
I passed with 60% marks. So kids, you can do anything you want in life alongside college and make it wherever you want to be.
Cool. On that note, let's take a teeny tiny break.
Hello, everybody. It's been another awesome, great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On The Habit Coach, Ashton talks to author, speaker, business leader, and investor S. Venkatesh. They discuss the power of creativity and their philosophies about it. On The Wire Talks, Siddharth talks to Wendy Doniger about her book, An American Girl in India, Letters and Recollections from 1963 to 64. On Cyrus Says It's Cock and Bull, Cyrus, Shreyas, Harsh, and Antariksh discuss the claims of Delhi air pollution, reducing your life by 10 years. On Pulyabazi, Pranay and Saurav debate whether government policies have made the media dependent on advertising. And on The Longest Constitution, Priya analyzes the employer's responsibility in the Bhopal gas tragedy case. We got some exciting news for you. IVM Podcast has just launched its merch line, and you should check it out now. Head over to the IVM Podcast website, that's ivmpodcast.com, and click on the shop tab to check out our first collection of t-shirts. Also, do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. That really does help. Don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening to us on. And also do remember, you can check out a number of our shows on YouTube. You can go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube to get a list of the channels that we are keeping active. We also are doing a small listener survey. If you could go to ivmpodcast.com/survey to fill this out, it'll just take a few minutes and it really helps us out. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, SBI Life Insurance, Apne Liye, Apno Ke Liye. Jupiter, a digital banking app. Capgemini, get the future you want. Intel vPro, built for business. And Intel, future but now wonderful with Intel-powered laptops.
And we're back with Harsh Kedia, the diabetic chef. And Harsh, what are your plans for your company? You've launched chocolates. What's next?
So a slight addition there. We don't do just chocolates. We have packet stevia. We have apple cider vinegar gummies. So we have India's first zero sugar apple cider vinegar gummies. We have green coffee and hazelnut chocolate spread. So we do a bunch of different things, but sort of realized over time that not every brand works at full capacity for every sort of product. So what's next is another series of chocolates that are going to revolutionize chocolate habits in India, because we'll be launching certain flavors of chocolates that no chocolatier in India has yet. So there are like a total of 2 international brands who make a flavor, and there's one name that we chant when we see another flavor, and then there's too many cliffhangers here. And there's one brand who makes this dessert flavored chocolate. So there's like a lot of things happening on that front. Also, I can officially announce that we'll be doing kulfis very soon.
Kulfis, damn cool.
Is it frozen kulfi chocolate based or is it just normal?
It's malai and
Okay.
roasted almond kulfi.
Lovely.
Wow, lovely.
My personal opinion that stevia works better with cold desserts rather than warm ones. I've tried using stevia in gajar halwa. It hasn't worked for me, but it's worked for me in milkshakes, ice creams, and whatnot.
I'll send you a recipe of a gajar ka halwa that is going on in the next book. So the catch with gajar ka halwa is you add it after it's done, not while cooking it, because stevia can crystallize. Because you don't ever buy stevia as stevia, right? You buy it with an erythritol mix. So whenever you have stevia at home, just turn it out and check. So it's a blend. So you never boil or cook with stevia. You add it once the dessert is sort of cooling down. So that's about stevia.
But don't send him the recipe. Ask him to buy the book. Once the book comes out, then he will buy the book.
I'll make you guys buy the book. Don't worry. Right now, I'm just sending it so he can try it out.
Acha. Abhi gajar ka season nahi hai lekin. I mean, hey, of course you can have the gajar halwa. Whom am I kidding? You can have gajar halwa anytime you want.
Yeah, with the kind of farming and with the kind of everything that we're in, I think all fruits and all vegetables are available in some or the other form through the year.
So, Sadaf was telling me earlier that he was doing some research on Indian chocolate, and he realized that Indian chocolate is not typically known globally like, say, Swiss chocolate is or Belgian chocolate is, even though you mentioned good quality cocoa beans are available in India. Why is that the case? And you see that changing?
Yes. So the thing is that making chocolates it's not an origin of India. It's not like a passed on trade practice. And for certain countries it is. So the authenticity behind making the chocolate, the process is the beans, is different for different people. However, you can't take it from India how expansively we've grown as a country that makes exceptional chocolates. There are two reasons to it. One is because it's unexplored. The reach that we have as a country in terms of placement of our chocolates outside is limited. So a foreign national who comes to India, buys chocolates, eats it, knows how good it is. But a lot of brands are not able to reach out of the country to sort of place it there to prove, like we're not here to prove a point, but to prove that we are as competitive as any other brand is out there. Now, second part is that now I'll ask you a basic question, Archit and Siddharth. You get Kesar across India, but the Kesar in Kashmir is Kesar in Kashmir. Belgian cocoa and the Swiss cocoa and the African beans that you get are those beans.
Right.
We do have excellent quality grade beans in India, but are they the same? No. So eating a butter chicken in South America versus eating a butter chicken in Punjab will always be different. Similarly, having a chocolate outside and a chocolate inside the country isn't the same. However, we're growing, we're expanding, and we're doing a great job to sort of suffice local needs in terms of quality. As an audience, India has also evolved with the taste bit of it, the quality bit of it. It's no longer US से मेरे मामा आ रहे तो वो chocolate लेके आएंगे हम वो chocolate खाएंगे. India has been going out. We have been going out and purchasing a lot of chocolates from modern trade stores, retail stores, and we buy a lot more local now because we feel like there's a sense of relatability. And a lot of brands in India do way better chocolates than a lot of international brands. It's just that little opportunity that you need to take, that risk you need to take for yourself to go buy and taste it.
This brings us to our final segment, the underrated, overrated, and favorites. So, Harsh, which foods do you think are overrated?
I'm going to offend a lot of people in this
That's the
episode.
point of the segment, to offend people.
If I'm going to...
यही तो चाहिए अपने को मेन मसाला तो वही है.
Give me a second. Let me think over it.
Yeah. Think.
Can you throw some names at me?
I said vada pav, by the way. So that's how controversial it can get. Yeah.
How dare you?
Thank you. We are in same team now. Harsh and I, same team. Archit, you're still zero. I know, right?
The overrated food is basically हमारी दिल्ली का खाना खाया है क्या? That's literally what is overrated food.
Ouch.
Have you eaten at good restaurants in Bombay? I will take you out. I will cook food for you. I will take you for chaat in Bombay. Underrated food is definitely Mumbai chaat because you go to places that serve hot ragda with pani puri. Like that's not the right Bombay pani puri. You know that, right? In Bombay, we make it with aloo, sometimes with moong, sometimes with bundi. That's how Bombay eats pani puri. Just because of your fun sad experience standing on the roadside, going to Juhu Beach and having ragda wali pani puri. अरे हमारे दिल्ली में तो इतनी अच्छी चाट मिलती है. No boss, नहीं मिलती है आपकी दिल्ली में अच्छी चाट. आपकी पूरी इतनी मोटी होती है, खाने में ऐसे लगता है मैं छोले आलू खा रहा हूँ. Like no, that's not how puri is supposed to be. It's supposed to be crispy, thinner, nicer, crunchier, and like it should just like blend in your mouth.
Right.
Not like aate ki puri that you get in Delhi.
Yeah.
So Delhi chaat is overrated. Mumbai chaat is underrated.
Oh, wow.
This is a typical Delhi versus Bombay food.
Yeah. We like it. I mean, I don't agree, but I like that you have a strong opinion on this.
But also underrated food, I think I would go for misal. Like misal pav. Good
That
misal pav is...
Yeah.
It's great.
I would also put misal pav as underrated. I don't know why. I don't...
The first time I had misal pav, I was like, ये gravy में नमकीन क्यों डाल रहे हैं? As a Delhiite, when I went to Bombay, I was like, gravy में नमकीन डाल रहे हैं क्या है ये? But that's actually good. Yeah.
Recently, I was in Bombay 2 weeks back, and I went to Aswad, which I think is in town. And there, I was just roaming around and eating food in different places. My food mentor, she's like, oh, you should try misal here. I said, I don't like misal. But Aswad ka misal mein thoda kuch to swad tha. There's something unique about their misal. But I still don't like misal, just saying.
And favorite?
I'll probably be cancelled as a chef if I speak my favorite out.
No, you can say
Go
vada
ahead,
pav.
take risks in life.
You can say vada pav.
No, yaar. Kya? Matlab, vada pav is legend. Like, vada pav is an undefeated legendary food. I'll give you a small reasoning after I'm done with my favorite food. It's Maggie. I love Maggie. I can live on Maggie. Archit is currently offended and shook. He's taking his earphones and leaving the call. But I'll tell you why. So, Maggie is celebratory to me because I would get it once in a month while I was diagnosed with diabetes and over and above that. And it was my favorite celebratory snack. So if I performed very well in school, mom would allow me to eat Maggie, or if I did my homework on time, and then I would be allowed like a little bite of Maggie, so all of that. So it's something that you've been restricted sort of eating for the longest time. It's a forbidden fruit for me. But I love it. Like, I kid you not, guys, when I woke up at 9 a.m. and the Forbes list had come out at 5:30 a.m. Like, very random time for these guys, considering we have a very close time zone. To release it at 5:30 a.m. The list has come out at 9. I've woken up at 9:30. At 11 o'clock, I'm like, Mom, Forbes 30 under 30 mein naam aa gaya, abhi Maggie khila do mujhe aaj. And she's just like, you're so strange with your demands. But apart from Maggie, I love chole samosa. I love sushi. I love a lot of things around prawn, and of course chaat. So these are like 4 things, but Maggie is like top of the chart.
Literally top of the chart.
Yeah, top of the chart. But not like stupid Maggie people eat, like with mayo and Szechuan and like the things that they've been doing with chocolate. Like, I'm talking about like regular Maggie.
Yeah.
With slight amount of butter and red chili powder. That really does the magic.
Not Fanta Maggie, Coke Maggie.
Ruh Afza Maggie bhi aata hai.
Ruh Afza Maggie, yeah.
क्या कर रहे लोग खाने के साथ?
Cool. Those are very interesting answers. But before we let you go, any tips on cooking with stevia and making healthy desserts?
Okay, so if you're starting with stevia, it is very tricky in terms of the proportion. So firstly, remember that stevia can't be added in heaps and spoons. So you have to add it in like proportional quantity. So 1:20 is ideally the proportion you must follow. Second with stevia is that thoda kam dalo, taste karo. If you don't like it, then add a little more. Because what happens is the minute stevia is ज़्यादा, it's not ज़्यादा मीठा हो जाएगा, ज़्यादा आफ्टर टेस्ट आएगा उसका. जबकि आप सही अमाउंट में डालोगे ना, तब आपको आफ्टर टेस्ट नहीं आता है stevia का. Next is that you should prefer ending it with stevia, not cooking it with or boiling with stevia. Because it sort of evaporates, the taste sort of goes away, it crystallizes, and people are like, oh, it leaves a bad aftertaste. Last is buy good brands of stevia. I'm not saying buy my brand of stevia, I'm saying buy good brands of stevia. Why? Because A, they are made without chemicals. B, they don't leave an aftertaste. So good grade of stevia, good brand of stevia, price competitiveness, everything works well. And please quit sugar. That's my only concluding statement.
That's a very strong concluding statement for everybody who loves sugar.
Super. Thank you so much for doing this. Where can our listeners find you on Instagram and Twitter?
So you can find me Instagram at Chef Harsh Kedia, alternatively on A Diabetic Chef. On Twitter, I'm not too active at this point, but you can find us on Twitter at A Diabetic Chef.
Got it. Perfect. So जाओ ढूंढो अर्श को, उसकी chocolates order करो और बाकी चीजें भी, not just chocolates. And yeah, that's the show for today.
If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network.
You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com.
You can also follow us on our social media. We are @IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram.
And if you want to reach out to me, on Twitter, I am Hussain Sadaf1, and on Instagram, I am Sadaf_Hussain. You can reach out to Archit
on Twitter @BandTofu and on Instagram @TheHustling
There's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey.
We face 100 dilemmas every day while raising our children and nurturing our families. Why not let science help us make informed decisions to solve our dilemmas? Hi, I'm Devi Shobha.
And I'm Meghna. We host Big Talk About Tiny Humans, where we will help you unpack challenges around parenting and your child's development.
And more importantly, we will equip you with research-backed strategies that you can readily act on.
Tune in to our podcast every Wednesday on the IVM Podcasts app, website, or your favorite podcast platforms.